Hello and welcome to the Potty Mouth Preacher, healing women's minds, bodies, and souls, one trigger at a time. I am Lisa Czak, your host. Like, rate, review, subscribe, be a great gift that you gave me if you drop something in comments for me so more women can actually get healed in their mind, body, and soul. I appreciate you so much. I'm getting right into it today. This episode is for you, Mom. My angel mama who went home to Jesus 2 years ago. And she spent 40 nights and 40 days in the hospital. Sound familiar? Yeah, those of you, Christian, who are probably watching, right? Just like Jesus, 40 nights and 40 days. And during that time, she had a lot of breathing issues. And so she had to wear, I think they call it a CPAP. I don't know if I'm getting that right. She had to wear it on her head at night because at night, her breathing would get very labored. Her oxygen levels went way down. And they wanted her to wear this every single night. And it's like wearing a scuba diving hat. It clamped down, and she's claustrophobic like I am. Any other people claustrophobic? Drop in comments if that's you, right? That's very scary for someone. Even if you're not claustrophobic, I think it would be scary to wear this giant helmet on your head that clamps down and seals it in so that you can breathe in oxygen. And I hated that she had to wear that because I knew I'm claustrophobic and I know that, how anxiety provoking that is and just it's like torture. And so the one night, I didn't tell her this, but one night after I talked to her, I got down on my knees and I said, please, Jesus, please, if there's any way you can make it so my mom doesn't have to wear that horrible device tonight to breathe. She just needs a break. She just needs a break. Please give her a break. Please. And I prayed believing, as I always do. And I thanked him, as I always do. Because it's important to thank God and thank Jesus for things that haven't happened yet. But in your heart, if it's in your best interest, which is in my mom's best interest, right, that it'll happen. And then I went to sleep. And for the first nights since she was in the hospital, I actually slept all night, right? I couldn't believe it when I woke up in the morning that I actually slept all night. So the next morning, I called to check on her. And she said, honey, my mom always said, honey, you're not going to believe what happened to me. And I hear my dad in the background, yeah, this is quite a story. And she yells at him, Jerry, it's not a story. It actually happened. It's the truth of what happened to me. And my dad was afraid of my mom. She was like the gentlest soul, right? The worst words she ever used were son of a pup. So you can imagine having a potty mouth daughter like me kind of sent her over the edge. Anyway, so I said, what? What happened? I couldn't imagine what she was going to say. What happened to her? She's in the hospital. She can't get out of the bed. What could have possibly happened to her overnight? So she says to me, she said, well, they wanted to put that thing on my head. And I said, no, instead of putting it on my head, I'm going to stay awake all night. And the doctors and nurses were like, how are you going to stay awake all night? Right? Because it was during the night when she was sleeping that her oxygen levels would drop so low, which is why she had to wear that horrible machine on her head at night. And she said, I don't know, but I'm just going to do it. I am going to stay awake all night. Don't you worry about it. You're not the boss of me. That was her famous thing. She said it to my dad all the time, too. So they said, all right, we'll just keep an eye on you. I guess they were planning on monitoring. Nobody called me to tell me any of this, by the way. So they said, we'll just keep an eye on you. We'll just monitor you more, blah, blah, blah. And she said, okay. So she said, she was laying there in bed and suddenly Jesus appeared. And I said, how'd you know it was Jesus? And she said, this is interesting. Because I said, what did he look like, right? I'm immediately asking all these questions, interrupting her. What did Jesus look like? Did he have the robe, and did he have brown hair and brown eyes and like a beard? Like, how'd you know it was Jesus? And she said, because of the peace and love I felt in his presence. Are you getting more and more anxious and sad and disappointed as the holidays approach? Maybe you're dealing with toxic family members, an ex-husband. Maybe you're lonely. Maybe you're going through grief this holiday season. If any of these things resonate with you and you want to stop emotionally reacting, especially as the holidays approach, and you want to learn to actually become crystal clear on what it's like to live your life, not emotional reacting, instead responding. If you want to uncover ways you might be sabotaging yourself as the holidays approach, and if you want to just feel at peace no matter what is going on in your life, no matter who is in your space this holiday season, then click the link below and join me and other women who are on this same healing journey this holiday season to stop reacting so that we don't look like the crazy one anymore, right? And instead, we feel peace no matter what's going on in our life. We don't allow our feelings to take over. We learn that the storm doesn't have to be inside of us. The storm can be around us, but the storm doesn't have to be inside of us. We meet twice a month, and I'm having a holiday special because this is my gift to you so that you can actually, instead of surviving the holidays, start enjoying the holidays. It's only $49 to meet twice a month, and we start right away. That $49 is going to take you all the way to the beginning of the year. $49 to have peace in your life this holiday season. Merry Christmas, ho ho ho, and remember, you are worth it. I'm intrigued now, right? Okay, Mom, carry on with your story. Oh, it's not a story. This really happened. Okay, carry on with your real experience. So she said to Jesus, I don't want to stay here tonight. So Jesus said, okay, where do you want to go? And she said, I want to go to the river. Now, the river was where we went every Thanksgiving. My brother and sister-in-law had a beautiful property there in Georgia on the river. And every year we all met as a family, right? It was the rare time that all my brothers and their kids were together, cousins, everyone met at the river for Thanksgiving. So she told Jesus, I want to go to the river. And so he looked at her and he said, take me there. So my mom took Jesus to the river. So she said they got to the river and she said, Jesus is really funny. He's really funny. He was telling stories. I said, what were the stories, Mom? I don't remember. I just remember him telling stories and he was so funny. And I just kept laughing and we were sitting around the fire. And I said, well, where were we? Where was I? And, I have three brothers. Where were the brothers and their wives and the grandkids? Where was everybody else? And she said, well, you and everyone out, the boys and everyone, you guys were off to the side and you were fighting. That's what she'd say to us. Stop your fighting. Stop your fighting. And she said, of course, you're fighting in front of Jesus. And she said that she looked over at us and said, you guys, stop fighting. Jesus is telling stories. And Jesus looked at her and he said, your family's going to need healing. Well, he couldn't have been more right, because after she passed away, my family just never came together for a celebration of life, a funeral, her scattering of ashes. We were never, since then, in the last 2 years, we have not all been in the same, under the same roof, in the same place to celebrate this magnificent woman's life. So Jesus knew. And he was warning. He was warning her. Not that it didn't matter for her, right? She's with him. He was really warning me, and he was warning my family that we're going to need some healing after she passes. And then she asked him, she said, am I dead? And he starts laughing. No, you're not dead. Am I dying? No, you're not dying. And then she looked at him and she said, I didn't know you did this kind of thing. I didn't know you just came to normal people like me and did this kind of thing. And he just laughed. And he said, that's what I do. Right? Can you see Jesus saying that? Yep, that's me. That's what I do. I'm the Prince of Peace. Okay? I show up and give people peace so they don't have to wear that horrible machine on their head. So anyway, then she said, all of a sudden she saw the sun coming up and she was in her hospital bed. Yeah, in her hospital bed without that machine on her head. Without the machine on her head. And the nurses came in and she asked the nurses, she said, did I die last night? And the nurses, no. Well, actually the nurse was like, I don't think so. Okay, that's not what you want to hear your nurse say. I don't think so. So the nurse said, let me check your chart and see what happened. Because I think that's the shift change, right? At 7 a.m, it's a shift change. So the nurse looks at it and she said, no, it states here that you were just staring off peacefully, that your breathing and oxygen levels were normal all night long, that you never had that device on your head to help you breathe or to increase your oxygen levels, that you just laid there all night long, peacefully staring out. Not unconscious. She was not unconscious at all. She never lost consciousness. She never went into a coma, no stroke, blah, blah, blah. Because, of course, my rational brain was asking her all these questions, right? Asking her all these questions. Because it seemed crazy, even to me, right? Even given what I do and my belief and everything, it seemed crazy that this was happening. This actually happened to her. And she told about her experience with such authority. It was the authority of Jesus inside of her. And I say that because she was in the hospital for 40 days and 40 nights. So she was in a really weakened state, right? Most of the times when I spoke to her, she couldn't even say more than a few words because she'd get breathless. She would get out of breath. She's telling me this experience she had with Jesus the night before and saying it completely, I don't even know the word, right? That she could breathe completely normal. She didn't have to take breaths during the experience. I can hear her yelling at me. It wasn't a story. It was an experience. She didn't have to take breaks like she used to. Like just the day before, like I couldn't even talk to her. The night before when I talked to her, she only said a few words because she said, I have to save my breath. I have to save my breath. I can't. So it was usually me talking to her, right? Which obviously was not hard for me to do. But it was me talking to her because she just was unable. She didn't have the oxygen in her to be able to get the words out. Yet the next morning, this woman is rattling off an experience she had with Jesus, like I'm talking right now, right? There's no coughing, usually because usually she'd cough when she talked too much. There's no breathlessness. There's no fatigue setting in. She's saying it with authority. The authority of Jesus was in her. And then she said something that has haunted me ever since then. And it's why I'm sharing the story with you today and right before Christmas, the birth of Jesus Christ, our Savior, the Prince of Peace, who came in the middle of the night to take my mom to the river to give her peace. These words. People need to know. That's why Jesus came to her. And that's why I am sharing this story with you today, finally, 2 years later. People need to know. You need to know. Jesus is real. Peace is inevitable. And you are worth it.